So with respect to your time that you set aside, we'll get started, and hopefully Kayla and some of the other people from the group can join us here in a couple minutes. First and foremost, thank you for being here. I, again, know how important time is and how valuable it is, and I really appreciate that you're giving this experience that kind of dedication. As a kind of a objective reminder, it's that an evaluated experience is worth more than just experiencing it the first time. So I'm encouraging, again, I know it's a small group at the moment, just encouraging that conversation so that we can really get as much out of this as possible. I know it's just the two of you, but do either of you have any thoughts that crossed your mind since last week? I'll give you a second to think about that.
So I had a really rough week. Can you hear me? Okay.
Very quiet at the moment.
Okay. So I just had a really rough week, where it's been just, I've been in my head a lot, and have been hard to think about things positively. And I know everybody has these kinds of moments in their life. So I am glad that we're all coming together to hopefully bring some positivity to the people, that are here right now, and also we'll be watching it later, so that we can move forward and try to get some stuff accomplished.
Basically just ditto what Hannah said. It's been a rough week. Like, there's been, I think part of it's been weather change. Because at least for me, every time the weather changes, I get very in my head, very like, so what am I doing? What is the purpose? Like, why am I actually doing what I'm doing? And so I was reading more in the Power of Five book after work today, because I'm a super slow reader and it just doesn't happen. And reading about failures and the perspective, how you view failure, and it's really enlightening and super helpful. So trying to change that perspective, I think is all I got for now.
Cool. Yeah. Later on today, we're going to be talking more about that section, because I also, when I read through it, was like, okay, this is so important, not just in the business side of things, but just in life, to keep these things in mind. So last week, I had asked everyone to rate out of 10 which aspects of network marketing are most important to them, just so I can kind of direct us in the correct direction. If I can ask you to tell me maybe the top 2 of what's most important to you. If you didn't see the list, it would just be the thing I emailed out last week. If you don't have it available, that's okay. But if you could just let me know which one the top 2 are, I'd really appreciate that. Like I said, just so we can get started directing this in the way that's most helpful for everyone.
I think looking over the list, I resonate with like all of them. But I think the top 2, I would say, would be network marketing makes me a better person, and enhances my income. I think would be my top 2 on that list.
Awesome, thank you. Hannah, did you happen to get a chance to do that?
So you took my book, so since I had to download it. So I think obviously enhancing our income is the most important thing for us right now. We had a rough week financially, and thank goodness for friends. Let's see. I would say probably like allow me to be a part of a great team, Our team is really wonderful and supportive, and I wish I used them as a resource more. You know, I really wish that I had, you know, last week I was talking about like carving out a time for your business daily, and I had struggled to find that this week. So if I had time to watch the lives and go on the team calls and like be a more participating part of the team, I think that I would get more out of my business. And just simply, like, I know the other part of the homework, you know, Joanna, you and I both talked about how like being present online and telling our story online, it's a struggle for us. I've just got to do it. Like, I did it for like 2 weeks and I got like no response from anybody. And it just kind of defeated me. And I know that your business isn't only 2 weeks long. And so you have to keep plugging at it. And that's where that failure piece that we were just talking about comes in. But with everything else going on in my life right now, it's been really hard to think, okay, well, this was something that I was failing at. Let's go back and try again. And I tell that to my students all the time, is like, just because you fail at something once doesn't mean you give up on it forever. And here I am, you know, having a hard time getting back into the business. So, but that's why we're here. So.
Awesome, thank you. So I see that you both have enhanced my income, which I probably could have predicted, since again, it's the network marketing group. It all makes sense. And we'll especially, I think, be able to help with the with this chapter with growth. I think it'll be able to nail the other two, allow me to be a part of a great team and make me a better person. And I think we can do those together. I know that not everyone has seen the videos yet because I haven't posted it yet. And Kayla's not here at the moment. But once the team starts getting a little bit more together, once everybody's seen everything, I think not only can we grow in, oh, there she is. Hello, Kayla. Not only can we grow within ourselves, but I think being a part of the team is we'll be able to hold each other accountable to what our goals and ambitions are. And that accountability also means a lot. Welcome, Kayla. We were just talking about last week's, just kind of the homework I sent home. If you are not busy with students at the moment, I asked Hannah and Joanna what the top two of the network marketing will ... exercise, what the top two answers they got were, just so that we can kind of have the group move in a cohesive direction, and I know where we want to get, so that we can get there logically. So if you're available to do that, that'd be great. And I'll just keep talking while you're doing that. Hopefully you are. Also, Kayla, we were just talking about the failure section in the growth chapter, and again, we're going to talk about that a lot more. But I think that part of the growth just means so much. Like, it's such a large portion of it is knowing how to handle failure and how to get back up on your feet. And kind of like John talks about, where every no you get is just one more no before you get your yes. Just continuing to kind of fight through those. And some people get excited when they hear no, because that means that's one more out of the way. You know, they're just getting closer. No worries, Kayla. Let me know if you're able to do that. If not, I'll just go on to the next thing. What? Oh gosh. Okay. We'll come back to it later. That way I can just have that on file. The other thing I had asked, oh, that makes sense that everyone's hurt. Yep. The other thing I had asked you to think about last week was, Joanna and Hannah, you both said, I believe that you had a harder time sharing your dream online. In person, it was easier for you to get to that topic. It was easier to kind of express it. But that online you were having a little bit more difficulty. If I could bother you two to tell me what that one idea was, if you could think of anything that you could do differently. And then when Kayla's available, we'll see if she has any pointers for online stuff, and if you have any pointers to help her with being able to express her dream in person. So I'm going to mute myself. Whoever wants to talk about that question from last week, go ahead.
So I think like Hannah was talking about earlier, with just getting back into the business aspect and just doing it. I feel like that's kind of, at least for me, what I need to do, because I know my story, I know where I came from, you know, how I got to be where I am. But a lot of the time, I don't necessarily feel like everyone needs to know everything all the time. And so in that aspect, I tend to shy away from being too personal on social media and things like that. Which being personal and being transparent, I think, are two different things. But basically, because in person, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll talk about it, whatever. And there's, you know, I can show the emotion and the facial expressions and the body language and everything to go along with it. And so just trying to pick words wisely and being able to express that online, I think is what I need to be working on. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because I'm actually very similar. I don't share much on social media at all. And again, maybe I know Kayla's busy and we might have to start adjusting what time all of this happens, but you know, she actually might be a good resource because I know sometimes she's able to share things that are kind of on that edge between like personal and business. So she's found a pretty good match. I can hear Elias crying, so I'm gonna skip Hannah for now. And I see Kayla says she has no filter, which you know, she does share well though, and there's a lot to be gained from that though. Yeah, blessing and a curse. That makes sense. So, Kayla, are you able to answer kind of one thing you could do differently about how to share your dream? I mean, I see that she says it's great insight, Joanna, and it really is. It's that self-reflection and being able to realize that that aspect of it might not be right for you. The sharing it 100% with sometimes too personal, you know, trying to find that ground for you because it's not the same for everybody. Yeah, I don't hear any more crying, so I'll see if Hannah can answer now.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. He just started crying. So, yeah, like I said before, I think it's mostly just being more consistent. Like I am not quite to the level of I have family members that we could like say would talk to a brick wall. I'm not quite there with like being an extrovert, but I don't have a problem like sharing things. That's not my struggle, but it's I found that I thought I was better at being consistent about things, and I'm finding that in many aspects of my life, including my business, it's hard for me to be consistent. So it's been, like you said, a moment of self-reflection for me of, okay, well, I know this about myself. Am I going to let it be a failure, or am I going to make it something that I can either change and get better at, or am I going to have it be my stumbling block? So I think mostly for me, it's literally just, yeah, there's daddy. Literally just putting in the effort. I've been kind of coasting through, and I just need to be more present.
Cool, thank you. And I see Kayla has said, I think being transparent, but more so not just sharing the problem, but rather the challenge or solution to the problem is the thing that will add more value. It isn't always about being super vulnerable as much as it is sharing your story and truth. People meet you where you are in your humanity. So that's great. And that's, you know, along with the self-reflective answers, I think you found, you know, it's not a fully formed plan yet, but I think that's leading to some really good ideas to help us move forward. So I will kind of change gears. We'll stop talking about last week now. We'll talk a little bit more. Oops, sorry, Kayla's typing. I pulled something up and couldn't see the chat, my fault. She also says it isn't, she says, for me, I've been trying to speak more boldly about my dream in person, especially when people ask me about my next steps. It's like the perfect opportunity to speak about it in person with me leaving my job. And that's entirely true. And I'm glad to hear that that's something that you're doing a little bit more. And it is, I mean, that's probably a rarer opportunity, but I'm glad that you're taking the opportunity instead of letting it slide by and just saying that, you know, the world is going a different direction for you. It's just time to move on. I'm really glad to hear that you're taking advantage of that opportunity. Let me see if I have a quote available, because it actually seems rather relevant. I was going to talk about it later, but it's kind of, well, we will talk about it later, but the quote or the reference is luck comes to the prepared. So it just so happens that because your mindset is in the right place, you're kind of making those opportunities happen, which is fantastic. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is in the chapter, John talks about understanding momentum. When I was reading through the chapter, I thought that this was a huge part of growth. I think that in my own life, this is what really resonates with me. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. So John talks about 4 different types of people with momentum: momentum breakers, momentum takers, momentum fakers, and momentum makers. So my question is for the group, which do you think you are? And if you don't think you're a maker, what do you think you can do to become a momentum maker? If you already think you're a momentum maker, just let me know and we'll skip to the second question there. Oh, sorry, Kayla, sure. And also mindset is everything. So that's a perfect statement to say. The different ones, Kayla, were momentum breakers. So the people who deliberately, I've been in the hospitality industry, and there would be times when we come up with a new plan or program, and they're the ones that deliberately do everything they can to undermine the momentum to our progress. The momentum takers, which are the folks who they see the people making the momentum and they just kind of absorb it, and it just stays with them, and it never goes on, it never manifests into anything. The momentum fakers, which are the people who on the outside are saying like all these great things, yes, this is what we're doing, but they're never actually taking the action, they're never actually putting those plans into motion, they're just making plans forever. And lastly are momentum makers, which are the people who are kind of the force moving everything forward, the person in any group or organization who's really making waves, getting everything started. Oh, and then because I re-explained it, let me also say, the question was just which do you think you are? And it's not a bad thing to not be a momentum maker. It's just something that once you acknowledge where you are currently, you can really make the transition into how to become the momentum maker, how to really, you know, get back on the right path, get everything going. So which one do you think you are? And if you're not a maker, what do you think you could do to change that? And again, I know it's a small group, so the conversation is a little bit tougher because it's inspiration affects everybody differently. So if it was a little bit bigger, it'd be slightly easier. But I'm gonna stop talking now and let you all take your time. Just kidding. I see that Kayla has said something. Okay. She said, I think I sometimes jump between a faker and a maker, and it usually always comes back to my mindset and if I'm doing my personal development. I've started taking this is truly faking it till I make it. And that's great, as long as it's funny because that expression actually almost works opposite to that question. You say you slip back and forth a lot, which is understandable. I don't think anybody is always a momentum maker. That's the whole point of personal growth, is to, you know, continue to work through it. But as I was starting to say, is that you know, that expression "fake it till I make it" is kind of putting that outside persona that you know what's going on and you have it all under control. But fortunately, the actual momentum happening is just is making the plans, is executing them, is just continuing forward. Kayla says, I don't want to be seen as a fraud, though, so taking messy action is something I am learning. And that's true. And I think, at least the way I read, the way John explains those four, is that really, as long as you are working toward a goal, whether or not you're doing it the right way, whether or not you are, whether or not that goal is exactly the one it should be, I think he would be very positive with that. He would reinforce that a lot. I hear Elias crying, so I'll read Hannah's as well. She says, I'm worried that I'm a momentum breaker. I don't really have any evidence for that, except I seem like I undermine myself when I'm starting to be successful. And so Hannah, then my second question can be, and I'll let you think about this one because this one's a little bit more introspective. What do you think you could do, whether small or large, to start being more of a momentum maker rather than a momentum breaker? And again, it's everybody strives towards being the momentum maker. This chapter is all about growth, so there's nothing wrong with not being one. It's all helping to develop ourselves. Or if Joanna or Kayla, if you have anything to say to encourage Hannah or advice or anything, I'll get off my soapbox now.
So I think for me, I think actually I switch back and forth. I think I am more of a momentum faker, but I'm trying to be more consistent. I'm trying to grow, and I'm trying to be the momentum maker. And Kayla mentioned something about mindset a little while ago, and it really is a mindset shift that needs to happen, because like for me over the summer, there were just so many things going on, and I was like, you know what, this business, it can just go on the back burner. Like I don't need to worry about this right now. And the longer I let that go, the harder it seemed to be to get back into it. And so I made the end of September, I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm going for it. And if people want to stand in my way, bye. And so it really is just it's looking at that failure and being like, am I going to stop there because I failed, or because it seems like I failed, or am I going to push past that? So that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that's tremendously insightful. And Kayla just said, I've legit learned to stop any negative talk or barriers I want to complain about. I have been trying to shut down any thought to that extent immediately. And at least from my experience, this is speaking fully outside of your experiences. I find it's hard when you feel alone to stay working forward, to stay being that momentum maker, you kind of need a team of people around you that are willing to tell you, hey, you know, sometimes that's a hard conversation to have. Sometimes it needs to be a little bit vocal, you know, and whether it's just saying, hey, look, I've noticed something doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like you have the same fire you used to have, or if it's, you know, an offer of help. You know, I've noticed that, you know, your social media posts are slowing down. Do you want to have a conversation about how we can, you know, promote that or whatever? So at least that's coming from my perspective. That's what I've found, is that when I've slipped from being a momentum maker into really any of those other three, because I've been all four of these without a doubt. And I'm, you know, a little bit embarrassed to say when I'm trying to like break it and turn it down. Those are some darker times, but really being on a good team, working well with other people, and being able to reach out for help as well. When I've noticed myself not be there, being able to ask for a recommendation or you know, any sort of help from the team around me. Kayla says, no one fails at either success or a lesson, which I think she was responding to you, Joanne. At that point, I was talking over her. She said, true fact, if I lose momentum personally and fail to bring energy to my team, our numbers and involvement are low as a whole. Energy has a direct correlation to effort. And it does. And which, again, I'm going to be bringing up a lot of quotes because it's just what I've immersed myself in at this point. But the quote from last week that one person can't accomplish the extraordinary. You know, you need that team. You need, you're only going to be able to do it with a team. You can't do everything by yourself. Hannah said, which is why I had being part of a great team as my second most important. Yes, sorry about that. Kayla didn't hear us talking about that. So let me quick recap that for Kayla, just so we're all on the same page. When I asked about which is most important, Joanna said, make me a better person and enhance my income. Hannah said, allow me to be a part of a great team and enhance my income. Well, it was enhance my income was hers. So that's where they were coming from. Whenever you get a chance to post yours, I just kind of kept everything down. Oh, the same as Hannah's. Okay, perfect. That's easy. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Perfect. And again, kind of what I was saying earlier is I understand this group has been, you know, a little hard to get everybody on the same page, a little bit difficult. I promise by this time next week, I'll have posted the videos so that the people who missed the first 2 weeks don't feel like they're just out of it, that they can come back in. But I think, especially for network marketing, the team is everything. So it's so fortunate that you're all on the same team, because this conversation would be a little bit more awkward if you were all on different teams. But it's definitely, yep, I'm sure. And you know, that's the nature of network marketing as well. That's why it has the appeal it has, because everybody can work the schedule that is, you know, what they need. So, and honestly, to help ease some minds too, if we need to run another group, I am more than happy to run another group. So if we maybe can switch a little things around and get 1 or 2 people in, fantastic. If not, we'll see what we can do next time. Okay, but continuing on, I don't want to get off the path for too long here. Okay, so we've talked about momentum. Does anybody have any other thoughts after reading the section on momentum that they want to talk about? Because again, that's the first of the 2 most important parts that I feel in that chapter. Okay, I'll keep going. If Kayla types and I talked over her, I apologize in advance. The next part, as I said, I felt the second most important part, or really the next most important part, was just the when it looks like I have failed section. I'm going to ask for any volunteer who wants to talk about ways you feel that you failed in network marketing and what it taught you. I know we've talked about some things we feel we haven't done really well, but if you, even if you repeat yourself from earlier, if you just add the what did it teach you aspect of that, because again, it's the evaluated experience, I think, that really brings along the learning and new ideas so that we can get to the point of crafting a plan to move forward with. So I'm going to mute myself and let it be awkward for a while. But if when you're ready, what ways do you feel you failed in network marketing, and what did it teach you? And just kidding, I won't mute myself because Caleb said something. I feel I failed in my core motivation. I have made it about me for a long time without realizing it. I've tried to do a lot on my own and without a team.
So I'm going to see how much I can get said before Elias plays with his noisy toy again. I think just, yeah, I get that, Kayla. She said about dragging her team instead of like pushing us. But that's also part is being part of the team. I think is where I feel like a failure. Whereas, you know, let's say Kayla was saying she feels like a figurehead or like I don't know, like a solo athlete, you know, she also needs to rely on us to be a part of the team. And so I think we all need to step up in our own different ways. So what that's taught me is that I need to do my part in whatever way that looks like. So it might even just be like sitting down with the three of us and saying, hey, okay, so you know, let's create some posts, let's create some, you know, live scripts, let's, you know, who's done their reach outs this week. And you know, I think if I had somebody being my little cheerleader, like Kayla said, you know, pushing me and saying, okay, hey, you haven't done your thing yet today, that might just be what I need to start being a momentum maker, because it's really hard to, like I think Joanna said, once you have gotten out of something for a while, getting the momentum to start it again. So that's what I am struggling with right now. It's not all about success. I wanted to have people on my team because I want you all to have everything you want and need from the biz. Your success grows me. And Kayla's right. We every time we do something, it grows our whole team, and that's why, you know, we bring people that we know, you know, are good people and just genuine people into our team, and not people that we can't rely on. And I think that I wish I could find more people that do have a need and do want to add to their life, because that's another way that I feel like I'm failing. Like I haven't brought anybody into the business yet, and I don't know how to get people there. But that's again something that we can talk about on a team call or something like that. Sorry, I basically just need somebody to do the business for me. I'm definitely feeling like a failure right now. I talk about growth mindset with my kids all the time, which is, you know, like Kayla's been saying, you know, that there are no failures. It's just a lesson, and you're not there yet. But it's really hard to take a dose of your own medicine, especially when it's not something that you feel like you're good at. So heck, maybe this will make me a better teacher if I understand what they're going through. So I'm gonna mute myself now. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel the same. Just kidding.
Yeah. If piggybacking off of what both Hannah and Kayla said, I feel like one of the big ways that I've failed in the business, I guess, is trying to do everything on my own, and not using the resources that are available because they're everywhere and there are a zillion of them. You turn a corner and there's something new, and not using my team. Well, the team. I only have 2 people under me, but not using our group chats and things for encouragement and ideas, and like I said, trying to do it all by myself, because when you're the youngest girl and number 6 of 7 children, you learn very quickly to kind of go off on your own little corner and do it by yourself, because otherwise you have like a billion people trying to tell you how to do it. And so this month especially, been trying to be more trying to be more present, trying to actually engage in the group chats, and watch the calls when I'm available, to, or trying to catch the replays. So it definitely has taught me. I feel like it's kind of like raising kids. I don't have kids, but it takes a village. You can't do it by yourself, and so I think that's what I'm learning through all of that.
Well, you can come take ours anytime you want.
Sounds good.
You all have made good points. I see that Kayla was mentioning about how it's not sustainable for her if she would long term be. Oh, gotcha. It wouldn't be long term for her to give you to keep trying to just give you everything and keep pushing you towards there, because you never learn from that. And I think that's especially true, and everybody on the team, by the end of this program, and really just as a goal for network marketing, is everybody is a leader. So yes, you'll have an upline and a downline, but the intention is for everybody to be their own personal leader, to be their own personal momentum maker. Kayla says I had to figure it all out, but I feel a bigger sense of ownership and growth from it. And that makes total sense. And again, it can't all be from Kayla. And I think it would make sense. Again, this is an outsider's perspective. Please take this opinion as somebody just on the outside looking in. But I believe you're all well-rounded people, and that you're all capable, and you see things differently than each other. And I think that's incredibly important for a team. That's such a good, and Kalis is trying to point to the resource instead of give the answers. And that's a great point. That's good leadership to do as well. But really, I think all 3 of you and the extended group, when everybody's able to start getting into it, you all have different experiences. You all have different strengths and gifts, and just getting to the point where you can work, not so closely that you're having daily meetings or anything like that. That's unreasonable. That's never going to happen with everyone's schedule. But I think you all working together in this team, I see a lot of good, and it can go both ways, where yes, Kayla is the upline, but she's not necessarily the leader of the group. I think it's important that all of you are your own individual leaders, is I guess the core of what I'm trying to say here. So to step probably where I shouldn't, If you think you have any good ideas, please share them with the group, share them with everybody, because you never know. I know Kayla has her own brand of reaching out online, but she might help you be able to figure out your own brand. You might have your own ways to start the conversations in public and with friends, and that might be something you could spread out. So it's just, yeah, to summarize what all of you have said, I just think your failures seem to have taught you a lot, and I'm glad to see that that self-reflection is coming back. And I feel like every answer we get to points toward the group is working. The closer the group is getting, seems to be better for the overall of everyone. Just really establishing that dynamic seems to be important. So I'm going to move a little bit off of the content you read and share some things from John's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Obviously, from the title, I thought it would fit really well here. So I actually do a similar setup for that book, but that one's between 8 and 10 weeks because it's a little bit longer of a book. The one we have with us is rather short. But one of the laws he talks about is the law of design. And I kind of thought it was important to share with everybody in the group here, because the law of design is about establishing some sort of plan, because you're never going to stumble into success. It's never just going to accidentally happen. It has never accidentally happened to anyone. Anyone that claims it has accidentally happened to them, somebody else did all the planning, somebody else did all the legwork. They just happened to reap the benefits, but they didn't do what was necessary to get themselves there. So the law of design, John tells a quick story about how at the last day of every year, it's one of his favorite things to do, is he gets his entire calendar from the previous year, the year that is ending that day, and he goes through and evaluates his schedule. Things he scheduled well, things he needs to improve in, things that made him happy, unhappy, all of those things, and he rates kind of how he did his year. And then he brings out his brand new clean calendar, and he starts planning for the next year to decide what things he needs improvement in, what things were a waste of time. And he really works to set everything up to design his next year. So the couple of points that I wanted to talk about, because now we're getting to the point, I think, in our conversation together and in the book here, where it's a good idea to start talking about some systems and plans that we can put into action to help the network marketing careers take off, or use in your everyday life, whatever, wherever it is applicable. I hope it will help. So the law of design, the big sections for it are these 6 parts, and I can do something like I did last week where I can put these out for you to take a look at later. But these are the things to keep in mind while you create your goals, while you create your new objectives and your new systems. So the first thing is the big picture. So always, whenever you have a new system that you're trying to develop, whether it's I'm going to post 10 things a week on social media, whether it's I'm going to talk to this many people, whatever your goals are, will it help you reach your big picture goals? So that's one of the big, that's the first of the law of design. The next is your priorities. Is it consistent with your goals? Is this new system going to work out with your true goals and objectives here? The next is measurement. Can you have a tangible means of measuring your success? So some things are a little bit harder to do that with, but really being able to, at the onset of a system or a plan, decide what the parameters are, so that you can make that logical, intellectual decision when the time comes of whether it's a success or not. The next is application. Does it have a built-in focus toward action? So the 2 examples I gave were obviously action-based things, but maybe yours would be reading a self-help book. Maybe yours would be watching videos on YouTube in regards to how to network market. So whatever your plan is, just make sure it has a built-in focus toward action. Organization is number 5. Does it make better use of your time than what you're doing now? So obviously, if it's a new plan, a new system, and you have nothing going on now, that's pretty easy because it's instead of doing nothing with your time, kind of directing it better towards your business. But if you are trying to get a better system, if you're doing like John did and taking a look at your yearly schedule, it's a really great opportunity to see if you can make your plan better and if this new system will be better than your old one. And the last one, which seems especially prescient with our conversation today, is consistency. Can you and will you repeat it on a regular basis? So that's the law of design. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. I'm trying to hit the bullet points because I thought they were really relevant for our conversation today. And now that brings us back to that quote that I mentioned earlier today, and I think is important. It's the luck comes to the prepared. I know you haven't had an awful lot of time to think about it, but for me, that means so much. You know, it goes to show that the failure that you experience over and over and over again, if you're using that failure to be prepared for the yes, you know, that can be your stroke of luck then, because you're prepared for the yes, because you've experienced the no's. That's what that says to me. I'm going to open the floor now, just to ask, what does that kind of say to you? The luck comes to the prepared. And like I mentioned last week, I'm going to let this be one of those awkward silences. All right, so Kayla says, I think it encourages me to stay the course, to focus on my income producing activities, not to focus on outcomes, but rather the actions I am taking daily. And, you know, that might be the most succinct description, I think, of what it's trying to say. So that's fantastic. I will open the floor back to Joanna and Hannah if you have anything to add, because I do see we're getting closer to the end of time.
So I'm sure you saw my facial expressions. I'm sitting here going, well, nothing in my life like has a plan. I feel like, again, it's my mindset today, but I really liked what Kayla said about like just daily. Like if I wake up in the morning and I say, okay, what is my goal for today? Like, and just make it something simple, then the next day I can wake up and I can say, okay, what, you know, like I started thinking about what Eli said about like, okay, well, how many am I going to do this week, or like the whole calendar? And I'm not there yet. I need to just start off with these little baby steps of what can I do in this hour? What can I do in this day? And start from there. And can I be consistent with that from day to day? Like take one thing that I can do from day to day and be consistent with it. And I think I can be attainable with that. But a lot of this, I'm just feeling overwhelmed in many parts of my life right now. And so like the business on top of it, and you know, I was talking about like, oh, going and exploring the like going through the resources and stuff. Like I want to go back and watch videos, and I want to go back and do these things, and maybe that's my daily things before I start posting again. Because if I am not knowledgeable, if I am not prepared to answer people's questions and wonderings, then maybe I'm not ready for that right now. Maybe I just take, you know, maybe I go and watch a video or a half a video a day and see where if I can make that attainable. Like do some more research first and get all my backlog ready to go before I start posting again. and reaching out again. Yeah, I can't even make a huge goal, Kayla. Like, I'm just not even there. Like, I'm gonna be lucky to get through the day. So yeah, I really want to make this work. I've found success, or I've found not success in my previous network marketing business. And so I just want to make this work because I do believe in these products. And so and our team, and I just want to find a way to make it work for me. I'm just struggling with that right now. So I think that's where I'm going to start, is just something small that I can do from day to day.
When I think of the quote, luck comes to the prepared, honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is the lottery, because you're never going to get lucky and win the lottery if you don't go buy a ticket. So in that instance, by going and buying a ticket, you're preparing for if you won the lottery. And that's like huge scale, but that's automatically, yeah, the investment is still there. And oh, that might make a really good post. That's how my brain goes. But I'm sitting there, like, we're never going to get that lucky. Yes, team shirts. We're never going to be that lucky if we don't move the needle, if we don't, do the consistent action and keep with it, as hard as it is all of the time, because life gets crazy. That's all I got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's great, and I hope you do the t-shirts or something, because that is a really good observation and a connection that I hadn't made. So Kayla, I'm going to read everything she said really quick, just because I don't know how much of this gets saved in the video. So when it does get posted, in case the group chat isn't there, I just want to make sure what she said is in the video. She said, I have like a huge goal, a monthly goal, a weekly goal, and a daily goal. It keeps me motivated because I'm not typically an easily motivated person. She says, this biz can get overwhelming quickly, but you control what you take in, knowing your capacity and setting an attainable goal to reflect. That is key. Yeah, that's great. And actually, so it actually worked out even better, because the other law I wanted to talk about, and I know I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to try to make this as quickly explainable as quickly as possible. That didn't make sense, but it's fine. So the law I want to talk about is the law of trade-offs. Again, it's in the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. This is a very large chapter. I tried to take out the parts that I thought were most important without it getting too clunky, without having read the actual material. So really quickly, the law of trade-offs are talking about those things that you've decided to take out of your life for something else. So when we're talking about creating a plan for the business, what things can we lose to gain more time or more dedication to the business? So really quick, trade-offs are available to us throughout our lives. Unsuccessful people make bad trade-offs. Average people make few trade-offs. And successful people make good trade-offs. So that's kind of John's real quick analysis of how to do that, or how that goes for everyone. So the question that he kind of breaks down here, and again, I can make this all in a note that I'll give to everybody. It says, what will it take for you to go to the next level in your potential? What are you willing to give up to go up to the next level? What will you have to give up? And not being able to give up something is a key reason why most people do not reach their potential. So that's, again, I'm really going through this quickly. There's a lot more in depth to this. But really, he's trying to explain that for every big endeavor, you really need to Sorry, I was just reading Kayla's sentence there. That one I probably won't read for the video, but that's okay. But he's trying to explain that every big endeavor, everybody that has been successful has had to make trade-offs of something or another. Another key point of the law of trade-offs is the loss of the trade-off is usually felt before the gain. And that struck me pretty hard, just in general. Whether it's time or money or whatever you're trading off, you really do feel the pain before the gain comes through, before you get to the productive side of it. So these are suggestions that he gives to help focus your life. It's right before, I think, the most important part of the law of trade-offs. But the things he says to help focus your life is, first of all, what can you delegate to others? Which I find funny only because of the conversation we're having here, because you have people in your upline and downline, and your team. What can you delegate to others? And again, it goes more than just your business. That goes for your whole life. The next one is, what do you do best? Or I'm sorry, do what you do best and drop the rest. Which again, I think is a very important thing. Control your calendar or someone else will. Do what you love because it will give you energy. And work with people you like so your energy is not depleted. So those are his 5 suggestions to help focus your life with the law of trade-offs. And I'm going to open the floor really quick. As soon as I get through this last bit here, it's as important as knowing your trade-offs is knowing what you're not willing to trade off. And I think this is the part that it needs to be said last, but really it's the part that needs to happen first when you decide what the trade-offs are going to be. So he suggests to make a no compromise list of things that are completely not allowed to be traded off, things that are very important to you. And once you have that list, develop some safety measures that will ensure you never stray from those priorities, just to make sure that those things that mean so much to you never lose their priority in your life. Okay, so I'm going to open the floor. I take that back really quickly. The last thing I'm going to say is, for next week, if you could, in the book at the end of the chapter of growth, be ready to talk about the teach part. It's the ACT, A-C-T. The last one is teach, and I think that's important for this group because, again, that way we can talk about it together. So if you could have that ready for next week, I'm going to read what Kayla said, and then I'll open the floor. She said, learning to balance still being present during time with my family. I have made some sacrifices there because it is some of the only time I've had. That has been hard, being that I am doing all this in order to gain the flexibility and time with my family. It's a sacrifice in order to bring to the ultimate goal I have, and that should be on my no compromise list. That's why Josh gets frustrated at times. And again, I think that's what John is trying to say, is there are things that are non-negotiables, and identifying those and building those safety measures for the trade-offs is so highly important. So we do have 2 more minutes here. I'm going to finally stop talking. So if anybody wants to say any last things, now's the time, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think that might be a good piece of homework, is for us to go and make a no compromise list for ourselves, and to be able to share at least one thing. Yeah, I've never done that either, Kayla. So I think it might be good for each of us to do individually, and then if you wanted to do one with your family, and see, okay, well, if Josh wants more time, then that's something that is on the family and the Kayla list, and I know that Eli and I have been working through our schedules to make sure that we have designated family time. So, we not only have our own individual ones, but what's important to you as a group. Okay, I'm going to hush.
I agree. I think it's a good thing to sit down and do. And I like the idea of, sharing one thing about that next week of what's on our list. And yeah, I like that idea. Good job, Hannah.
Fantastic. So I think that brings us right to 8 o'clock. Kayla says, but it is true, you have to let go of some things to make this a priority. And that's, I believe in 15 Laws, John talks about recreational things first. Obviously, you know, is it more important to be watching a TV show or to work on your business or personal life? Because everybody is more than just their work. You are a whole person. So this law applies to all of that. If you feel like you need to become a better parent, for instance, making that, you know, putting your trade-off list directed towards that. If it's about your business, putting it towards that. Yeah, so Kayla says it's important to make it as a priority if you really want to go somewhere with it. So again, as we reach the end of our time here, I just want to thank everyone for coming. It means so much to me that you are taking time out of your day for this. I would love to sit here and talk more about it. I feel like we're really on the beginning of something here. So maybe think about it throughout the week, and we can kind of cover what you were thinking next week. So again, thank you very much, and I will talk to you next week. All right, bye.